for this.
Degrees, water is frozen, but at 33, it's liquefied. So that basically means when you reach that 33-degree energy, a lot more possibilities are open to you.
There's 33 vertebrae in your spine. There's 33 years in the life of Jesus.
33 is the number of influence. That's why Jesus Christ died when he was 33 years old. And they made sure to associate that number within because he's the most influential dead man in the world. Freemason order goes up to 33 degrees too.
How important is the number 33 for the occult? Let's take a look. Jesus performed 33 miracles and many like him at the age of 33. He was crucified, mistreated, and buried at the age of 33. We want to understand how special is the number 33. King David reigned for a total of 40 years, but in Jerusalem it was for 33 years. If you look for the geometry in architecture, 33 ranks, 33 sectors around the entire world. The human spine properly has 33 vertebrae. Our body resonates in 33 octaves, while the earth resonates in 33 harmonics. In the annals of mystical and esoteric traditions, certain numbers possess an allure that transcends mere arithmetic. One such number is 33, a figure imbued with layers of meaning that stretch across religions, philosophies, and the occult.
During the Middle Ages, alchemy was not only a philosophy and a science, but also a religion. Those who rebelled against the religious limitations of their day concealed their philosophic teachings under the allegory of gold making. In this way, they preserved their personal liberty and were ridiculed rather than persecuted. Alchemy is a threefold art, its mystery well symbolized by a triangle. Its symbol is 3 times 3, 3 elements or processes in 3 worlds or spheres. The 3 times 3 is part of the mystery of the 33rd degree of Freemasonry. And of course, this is talking about the top level or degree that one can achieve in Freemasonry. For 33 is 3 times 3, which is 9, the number of esoteric men and the number of emanations from the root of the divine tree. It is the number of worlds nourished by the 4 rivers that pour out of the divine mouth as the verbum fiat. Beneath the so-called symbolism of alchemy is concealed a magnificent concept. For this ridiculed and despised craft still preserves intact the triple key to the gates of eternal life. Realizing therefore that alchemy is a mystery in 3 worlds, the divine, the human, and the elemental, it can easily be appreciated why the sages and philosophers created and evolved an intricate allegory to conceal their wisdom.
From the miracles of Jesus Christ to the geometric principles hidden in ancient architecture, the number 33 weaves a tapestry of cosmic significance. This tale will take you on a journey through history, religion, and society.
Have you ever felt like something was watching you in the middle of the night?
a whisper without a voice, a still figure standing at the foot of your bed. What if I told you it wasn't a dream, but a visitation? Welcome once again to Esoteric Guardian. Today, we descend into a hidden dimension, an invisible realm that exists just beyond the physical world, a space inhabited by dreams, nightmares, spirits, and the darkest thought forms born of human emotion, the astral plane. Described by mystics, occultists, and seers throughout history, this ethereal domain is not only home to guiding and benevolent beings, but also to terrifying entities that stalk the shadows. Get ready, because we're about to uncover the most chilling creatures of this unseen world, revealing their origins, their true forms, how they interact with our reality, and how you can protect yourself from their influence. In technical esoteric terms, the astral plane is a subtle dimension composed of highly malleable etheric matter which responds intensely to human emotions and thoughts. Referred to as the second sphere or astral world by occultists such as Helena Blavatsky, Aleister Crowley, and Dion Fortune. This plane exists between the physical material world and higher spiritual realms, acting as both a bridge and an immediate reflection of the collective human unconscious. One of the defining features of the astral plane is the automatic formation of autonomous entities known as thought forms, created from intense emotional energy. These thought forms can gain independence, persist over time, and even interact with the mind and energy field of individuals who enter the astral via astral projection, lucid dreaming, or altered states of consciousness. According to prominent researchers like Charles Webster Leadbeater, Robert Monroe, and Israel Regardie, the lower regions of the astral plane, commonly referred to as the lower astral, are dense, negative zones inhabited by parasitic or predatory beings born from emotions such as fear, hatred, anxiety, and guilt. One of the most well-known and frightening examples is the dweller on the threshold, which we will explore later. In conclusion, the astral plane is not merely a metaphor or fantasy. It is a technical and real dimension thoroughly explored by renowned occultists, whose investigations reveal both its immense spiritual potential and its grave psychic dangers.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Particularly in its darkest corners. Since medieval times, the figures of the incubus and succubus have haunted the human imagination with dark, disturbing tales, deeply rooted in Christian demonology and the European occult tradition. Technically speaking, these beings are parasitic entities of the astral plane, energetic creatures that survive by feeding directly on human life force. They possess no physical bodies of their own, but exist on lower vibrational frequencies within the astral realm, especially drawn to individuals who are emotionally or psychologically vulnerable. The incubus, male in nature, and the succubus, female, have the unsettling ability to take on deceptively attractive forms at first. They appear as ideal lovers, seductive and magnetic figures who infiltrate dreams or even states of semi-consciousness, triggering intense and seemingly pleasurable sexual experiences. However, this seductive facade hides a terrifying truth. Their real form is grotesque and monstrous. Occultists like Helena Blavatsky, Eliphas Levi, and Cornelius Agrippa often describe them as beings with twisted faces, glowing malevolent eyes, dark bat-like wings, sharp teeth, and limbs ending in clawed fingers. Their nocturnal assaults are not mere erotic dreams, but deeply invasive encounters. Victims often wake up with very real physical symptoms: extreme exhaustion, unexplained pain, scratches or bruises on the body, signs of the entity's attempt to energetically anchor itself to the person's aura and drain as much vital energy as possible. But perhaps more disturbing than the immediate physical effects is the long-term psychological impact. The influence of incubi and succubi slowly corrupts the human mind, triggering uncontrolled sexual impulses, obsessive thoughts, and perverse tendencies that can destroy personal relationships and emotional balance. Modern occult researchers like Dion Fortune and Robert Bruce emphasize that these entities cannot attack arbitrarily. They need a weakness, an energetic opening within the human psyche. Depression, fear, substance abuse, or obsessive attachment to sexual fantasies all create fertile ground for these astral parasites. Therefore, protection against incubi and succubi has traditionally focused on maintaining strict emotional and mental purity. Recommended techniques include spiritual practices such as focused meditation, the conscious use of sacred symbols like crosses, protective pentagrams, or blessed talismans, along with personal strengthening through a balanced emotional life free from unhealthy sexual obsessions. By cultivating a stable and clear mind, one's aura is sealed, making it much harder for these entities to latch onto the human energy field. In short, while these astral predators represent a profoundly unsettling threat, they hold no real power over those who maintain strong emotional and spiritual discipline. The best defense lies in clear awareness, inner strength, and recognizing the danger that lurks behind the seductive mask incubi and succubi use to draw their victims into degeneration. After descending into the disturbing realms of entities like incubi and succubi, we now turn to a far more unsettling and deeply personal being, the dweller on the threshold. This sinister entity, known to occultists and theosophists since the 19th century, particularly after author Edward Bulwer-Lytton popularized the concept in his novel Zanoni, 1842, symbolizes something far more terrifying than mere external demons. It represents the sum total of all the darkness buried within our soul, accumulated over multiple lifetimes.
What would you do if you had an army of 72,000 angels? Imagine this, an army of 72,000 angels, powerful, mighty, and ready to fight on your behalf. Sounds like something out of a movie, right? But the truth is, this army is real, and it's available to you. You have 12 legions of angels, which would be around 72,000 angels ready to do his bidding. That means God's angels are not just powerful, they are legion. And when you belong to God, so is his army at your side. You're not alone in the fight. God's angels are working behind the scenes, protecting you, guiding you, and fighting for your victory. So what would you do if you had an army of 72,000 angels? Would you walk boldly into the storm knowing victory is already secured? Believe that God has already dispatched his angels on your behalf. Trust in his protection, his guidance, and his power. If you believe that God's army is fighting for you, type Amen.
The Dweller has no fixed form. Its most terrifying ability lies precisely in its capacity to morph into a shape that mirrors, with surgical precision, the most disturbing aspects of our psyche. Deep-rooted fears, unresolved guilt, buried remorse, and sins we have never dared to face. It is, in essence, a dark mirror that projects outward everything we desperately try to suppress. Influential occultists like Alice Bailey expanded on this concept, describing it as a kind of astral double, a grotesque projection of our lowest self, lurking maliciously at the threshold between spiritual ignorance and inner awakening. Those who have had the misfortune, or perhaps the privilege, of confronting the Dweller speak of harrowing and deeply disturbing experiences. During deep meditative states, altered states of consciousness, or advanced astral projections, this being may manifest with chilling intensity. Esoteric and occult traditions recount initiates undergoing their most critical spiritual trials, assailed by living shadows that whisper cruel and haunting words, or by demon-like faces twisted by hatred and scorn. These encounters can be so intense that they push individuals to the brink of madness, as inner voices, filled with self-hatred and despair, attempt to annihilate every shred of faith, confidence, and willpower. The Dweller's goal is not to cause direct physical harm, but something far worse, to psychologically destroy the spiritual seeker. Its primary weapon is fear, visceral, ancient fear, triggered by the raw, immediate recognition of one's own dark nature made manifest. The confrontation becomes a final trial, a rite of passage that tests whether the soul is truly ready to ascend to higher spiritual realms. But there is a way to overcome the Dweller on the threshold, and it is as simple as it is difficult: to face it with complete moral honesty, genuine courage, and deep self-knowledge. Occultists like Dion Fortune and Rudolf Steiner taught that only by recognizing, accepting, and consciously integrating one's own flaws and fears can the illusory power of the Dweller begin to fade. When the individual finally understands that this creature is nothing more than an externalized manifestation of their own internal shadows, they gain the strength to speak the key phrase that ends the confrontation: "You have no power over me." It is precisely by declaring these words with absolute firmness, not from fear, but from calm and lucid recognition, that the entity dissolves, revealing it was never anything more than the shadow of one's own fear projected onto the screen of astral reality. The Dweller's true lesson is clear. External darkness is always a reflection of internal darkness, and only by conquering our personal demons can we finally step across the threshold into higher planes of consciousness. As we continue our descent into the horrors of the astral plane, we arrive at one of its most disturbing inhabitants, astral vampires, being
After these messages, we'll be right back.
terrifying for their ability to silently drain the vital energy of their victims. Though the term may sound fantastical, nearly every spiritual tradition around the world warns of similar entities, parasitic specters that feed on human life force, attacking primarily during sleep or in moments of emotional and physical vulnerability. These entities are far from mere myth. They have been vividly described by occultists and researchers such as Helena Blavatsky, Franz Hartmann, and Dion Fortune, who referred to them as genuine, invisible thieves of life. According to their investigations, there are two main types of astral vampires. The first consists of degenerated human souls, individuals who, after a life marked by extreme malice, addiction, or destruction, become trapped in the astral plane after death. Unable to ascend to higher planes, they remain desperately earthbound, driven by a relentless hunger for vital energy that they can no longer generate on their own. The second group is even more unsettling. Beings that were never human, primordial shadows that have always existed in the dim corners of the astral world.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Swinging human being is a person who lives on two levels at once. He's able to live on the level of being his ordinary ego, his everyday personality, and play his role in life and observe all the rules and so on that go with that. But if he's only on that level, if he's only playing that kind of thing, and thinks that's all there is, it becomes a drag. But he's just got to go on surviving. If, however, you see, you know that all the serious predicaments of life are a game, and I deliberately got involved in this thing, and that even if I got myself into an awful mess, and I got born with syphilis and the Great Siberian Itch and tuberculosis and in a Nazi concentration camp, nevertheless this was a game which was a very far-out play. It was a kind of cosmic masochism. If you can carry on these two things at once, you get a very remarkable harmoniousness.
Described as vaporous silhouettes, dark specters, or amorphous clouds, these entities tend to gather in places where human energy is released in abundance: hospitals, cemeteries, sites of mass tragedy, or homes marked by prolonged suffering. Occultists from the early 20th century, like the renowned theosophist Charles Leadbeater, identified them as highly sensitive to human fear, sadness, and despair, emotions upon which they feed voraciously. As for their appearance, those who have encountered these astral vampires describe a variety of disturbing forms: black shadows silently sliding along room corners, or cadaverous, spectral figures with glowing eyes, watching the sleeping from the foot of the bed. Many victims report waking up suddenly in a state of overwhelming exhaustion, as if their life force had been drained. These attacks are often accompanied by recurring nightmares, sleep paralysis, or the infamous sensation of a heavy, invisible presence pressing on the chest, the classic experience of a nocturnal visitor. But the effects of these entities go beyond temporary fatigue. Their prolonged influence can lead to severe physical and emotional deterioration. Chronic fatigue, unexplained depression, persistent anxiety, and even undiagnosed physical ailments may be signs of ongoing astral vampire attacks. To protect against these energy thieves, esoteric tradition emphasizes maintaining a high spiritual vibration and a strong, luminous aura. Experienced occultists regularly recommend specific energy hygiene practices, meditations with visualizations of protective white or golden light surrounding the entire body, cleansing rituals using incense like myrrh or copal, and protective crystals such as black onyx or tourmaline. Some, like Dion Fortune, stress that the ultimate key to protection lies in cultivating inner spiritual strength and emotional peace. A strong, positive aura becomes literally toxic to these entities, who prefer fearful and emotionally vulnerable targets. Ultimately, the existence of astral vampires serves as a powerful reminder. We are surrounded by invisible forces, and our spiritual and emotional well-being depends greatly on our ability to consciously fortify and protect our vital energy. Staying aware, balanced, and luminous is the ultimate defense against these dark predators of the astral realm. After exploring astral vampires and their relentless pursuit of human life force, we now delve into a far more modern, yet equally terrifying phenomenon: the shadow people. These figures have surged into the collective imagination since the late 20th century, and far from being mere nocturnal hallucinations, their recurring presence in independent testimonies and anomalous behavior have made them one of the greatest mysteries of the contemporary astral plane. Described as completely black humanoid silhouettes, faceless and featureless, shadow people usually appear during moments of psychic vulnerability, sleep paralysis, transitions between wakefulness and deep sleep, or even during periods of depression or anxiety. The most commonly reported form is that of a tall, slender figure with straight shoulders and a rigid posture. However, more sinister variants exist, such as the infamous Hat Man, a shadow being wearing a wide-brimmed hat, who, for reasons unknown, provokes an even deeper and more primal terror. In 2014, a woman from Krakow, Poland, shared a chilling report online. For over a month, she saw a dark figure wearing a wide-brimmed hat standing motionless by her bedroom door, always at exactly 3:33 a.m. She described it as perfectly black, like it absorbed the light around it, and claimed that every time it appeared, she was overcome with total paralysis and a choking pressure on her chest. Doctors found nothing wrong. But the most disturbing detail came later. Her younger sister, sleeping in the room next door, began having identical experiences. Same time, same figure, same silence. What's most disturbing is their behavior. They do not speak, they do not move conventionally, they simply watch. Often from a doorway, a dark corner, or even standing right beside the bed. Witnesses report a sudden, overwhelming, and utterly irrational sense of absolute panic. There is no noise, no direct physical aggression, yet the atmosphere surrounding them seems to freeze everything in place. It's believed that this terror is not a side effect, but their primary source of nourishment. Entities that feed not on blood or desire, but on pure, distilled fear. The nature of shadow people remains hotly debated in esoteric circles. Some believe they are degenerated astral forms, conscious residues born from collective human suffering. Others suggest they are interdimensional observers, emotionless onlookers who slip into the astral realm during brief moments when the mind and body fall out of sync. Still others connect them to the dweller on the threshold, but in a collective form, non-personal shadows reflecting humanity's universal fear of the unknown. What is certain is that, despite their apparent passivity, many feel these beings have hidden intentions. In some accounts, the shadow person leans in, tilts its head, or suddenly launches itself toward the observer before vanishing. In other cases, they appear repeatedly, as if they've marked certain individuals, those more spiritually open or sensitive. And in more extreme situations, psychological after-effects are reported: paranoia, recurring night terrors, and even the sensation of being watched during the day. Protection against these entities doesn't lie in direct combat, but rather in reinforcing one's inner light. Literally, turning on a light can cause them to vanish, interpreted by many as proof of their connection to lower planes where emotional darkness dominates. On a spiritual level, this light translates to a firm mind, free of fear or existential emptiness. Traditional protective tools also prove useful. Crystals like black obsidian or tourmaline, purifying incenses such as copal or palo santo, and symbols of personal or spiritual power, depending on the practitioner's tradition. More than monsters, shadow people appear to be dark mirrors, living reflections of the human existential dread of the invisible. They don't attack in the physical sense, but their mere presence can destabilize the psyche. To understand them, to acknowledge them, and to stand firm in the face of their frozen silence may be the first step to dissolving their power over us. In the astral world, fear opens doors, but willpower slams them shut. Within the occult universe, few entities are as insidious as astral larvae. They are not demons or spirits in the traditional sense, but rather living waste. Fragments of dense, degenerated human emotions such as hatred, jealousy, repressed lust, or vengeance that, when fed with enough intensity and repetition, detach from the human energy field and take on autonomous form in the lower astral plane. These creatures, described in the writings of authors like Franz Barden and Dion Fortune, do not possess consciousness in the human sense, but they do have a clear purpose: to feed. They attach themselves to the aura of emotionally unstable or spiritually weakened individuals, acting like energetic ticks. Small and almost invisible at first, they settle on the edges of the auric field and begin draining vitality, feeding on negative thoughts, inner turmoil, or self-destructive habits. Though their size is often described as tiny, dark masses, etheric worms, or crawling stains, their cumulative effect can be devastating. Over time, the affected person may begin to feel inexplicably exhausted, plagued by intrusive thoughts, overcome by emotions that don't feel like their own, or even driven by self-destructive impulses with no apparent cause. In extreme cases, the larvae multiply, forming psychic swarms that envelop the victim entirely, pushing them to the brink of madness, illness, or emotional collapse. Occult teachings also warn that certain locations can become infested with these entities. Homes where prolonged suffering has occurred, hospitals, prisons, or even places where black magic or failed rituals have been performed. There, the larvae remain anchored, lying in wait for the next vulnerable visitor to attach to. Protecting oneself from these forms of astral life requires rigorous energetic hygiene, salt baths, purifying smudges, visualizations of fire or cleansing light, and most importantly, mental discipline. Obsessive thinking and uncontrolled emotions are like fresh meat to these invisible parasites. If one manages to elevate hygiene, salt baths, purifying smudges, visualizations of fire or cleansing light, and most importantly, mental discipline. Obsessive thinking and uncontrolled emotions are like fresh meat to these invisible parasites. If one manages to elevate their emotional frequency, cultivating calm, clarity, and purpose, the larvae find nothing to feed on, and they detach on their own, vanishing like smoke without substance. At their core, astral larvae remind us that the astral plane is not only inhabited by conscious horrors, but also by the waste products of the human soul. And sometimes, what destroys us most is not an external demon, but a rotting emotion we failed to let go of. After traversing the darkest regions of the astral plane, one thing becomes clear. The truly terrifying is not what we see with physical eyes, but what lurks in the unlit corners of our own consciousness. The astral is not a place out there. It is a vibrational reflection of all that we are, all that we repress, all that we project. It is a multi-dimensional mirror where emotions take shape, thoughts become entities, and willpower is the only true compass. Incubi and succubi, energy vampires, parasitic larvae, the dweller on the threshold, all of them represent more than just monsters. They are living symbols of the dangers that arise when we neglect our impulses, traumas, and unresolved desires. Some feed on lust, others on fear, others on despair. But they all have one thing in common. They only exist where unconsciousness dwells. Knowledge is your shield, and conscious awareness your sword. In the esoteric arts, understanding the invisible map that surrounds us is the first step toward freedom. Because the astral plane does not forgive ignorance, but it respects the one who seeks, who questions, who shines from within.
This that go and get it, with no hesitation. This that never quit, start that elevation. This that process, this that in the making. This that started from the bottom, this that motivation.
And if you felt this journey was just the beginning, because it was, then you're in the right place. Here, we continue to unearth the hidden, to reveal what's always been there, but few dare to face.
Swinging human being is a person who lives on two levels at once. He's able to live on the level of being his ordinary ego, his everyday personality, and play his role in life and observe all the rules and so on that go with that. But if he's only on that level, if he's only playing that kind of thing, and thinks that's all there is, it becomes a drag. he's just got to go on surviving. If, however, you see, you know that all the serious predicaments of life are a game, and I deliberately got involved in this thing, and that even if I got myself into an awful mess, and I got born with syphilis and the great Siberian itch and tuberculosis and in a Nazi concentration camp, nevertheless, this was a game which was a very far-out play. It was a kind of cosmic masochism. If you can carry on these two things at once, you get a very remarkable harmoniousness.